As audience enthusiasm continues to build for Orlando's newest theme park in over a quarter of a decade in Epic Universe, Josh DAmaros, chairman of Disney's theme park division, was recently asked about his thoughts on Epic and if the newest theme park from Universal would have any effect on Disney's crown jewel in Walt Disney World. And the response from Josh? That Disney's parks have always been on the offensive. Let's talk about the massive cope and some might say hubristic arrogance from what some might consider to be the next CEO for the Walt Disney Company regarding Walt Disney World versus Epic Universe here on That Park Place.
Now, Vash, with our next story, now you might think that because Disney is trying to placate APs that maybe they are afraid of Epic Universe in some way, but that's not true, Vash. That's not true at all. In fact, they're on the offensive. They're pretty offensive to me, I'll tell you that much. But Josh DAmaros says that Disney is on the offensive as Epic Universe opens, but of course, no new rides, only closures at Disney World in 2025. That's this guy's big offensive against Universal. So as Universal prepares to open its most ambitious theme park yet, Epic Universe, Disney's top park executive and future Disney CEO hopeful Josh DAmaros is pushing back against concerns over competition, stating that Disney has been on the offensive for years in the battle for Orlando tourism dominance. But while Universal is launching a massive new resort with multiple lands and hotels, Walt Disney World has no new attractions scheduled to open in 2025, only closures of long-standing guest favorites. Now, Epic Universe, $7 billion expansion from Comcast-owned Universal, opens to the public this week, spanning 750 acres. It features 5 immersive lands. We know all of this background information. But Dennis Spiegel, CEO of International Theme Park Services, Inc., says Comcast has come on so strong with what they've developed and brought forth in the Orlando market, it has really become a prize fight. Now, according to Spiegel, the 2010 debut of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter sparked this new era of competition, one that's only escalated with each passing year. Now, Universal's biggest expansion since that moment is drawing the spotlight and guests away from Disney. Now, Walt Disney World is facing criticism for scaling back in-park offerings. While Disney has touted their long-term $30 billion investment plan in the parks division, no major new attractions will debut at Walt Disney World in 2025, and probably not yet for several years. Instead, the resort is closing several beloved rides, including Muppet Vision 3D, Rock and Roller Coaster in Disney's Hollywood Studios, Rivers of America, Tom Sawyer Island, and Magic Kingdom, and It's Tough to Be a Bug and Dinosaur at Animal Kingdom, Vash. That is what we are seeing currently. Now, despite this, Disney remains bullish. Speaking at a recent investor conference on the impact of Epic Universe, DAmaros said that the company has always played an aggressive role in the Orlando market. If we go back just 5 or 10 years, and you think about what's happened at Walt Disney World, we've always been on the offensive. If something is built new in Central Florida, like Epic Universe, and if it brings in additional tourists, I can almost guarantee you that new tourist coming into the market is going to have to visit the Magic Kingdom. Really, Josh? They have to? Because I don't think they do, Vash.
I don't think they do either. I want to go ahead and share this quote once again right here. This from that conference that Josh DAmaros had these comments on. This by Josh DAmaros himself. Like you said, that tourist is going to have to visit Magic Kingdom. They've got to go right. Tron, they're not going to miss Star Wars at Hollywood Studios. They're absolutely getting on Guardians of the Galaxy and Epcot, and I am going to get on that Flight of Passage attraction. And so that 4-park ecosystem holds together very well.
Here's the thing about that. You know what? You know the thing about that person? They've already gone on Tron. They've already seen Star Wars in Hollywood Studios. They've already done Flight of Passage. What they have not done is Super Nintendo World. What they have not done is, the Harry Potter and Battle of the Ministry. They have not gone to Isle of Berk. They've not eaten one of those cone macaroni and cheese things. They've not had a butterbeer crepe. Josh this is nonsense what he's saying.
Yes, it is. Because I think you're totally right. People have already done these things. And even when those things were brand new, they didn't necessarily move the needle. Like we saw with Tron, I think bookings were still low and they still had to aggressively reduce prices in order to get people in the door for that summer that Tron actually opened for, which was very unusual, especially with a highly anticipated attraction like that. So that's, I think, the distinction here, because maybe you weren't interested in Tron at all. Maybe these IPs or franchises or even these attractions didn't resonate with you. You're looking at Disney's Animal Kingdom, for example, and Flight of Passage right here, which is, by the way, why in this commercial they are hyping these attractions, right? This is exactly what Josh DAmaros is saying based on the research and so forth. But here's the thing. Even with something like that came out, in 2017? We're talking that's almost 10 years old now. And And I think that's going to be the distinction here. Let's see here. And again, we're very clear on what we're trying to do here. So now we talk about the Q2 earnings. We saw the results. They were phenomenal for Q2. And Hugh, that being Hugh Johnston, that is, talked about the forward bookings in Q3 and Q4 and how they looked very strong. So our strategy, based on all of that, they say is working. One of the things that gets discussed quite a bit in groups like this is how you think about cannibalization. Well, if something new is going to be built, then something must be cannibalized. Based on our results, based on the forward bookings, that cannibalization is not coming from us. So again, we have a very solid strategy in place, always on the offensive. And that's the key thing to take away here. The offensive. Well, what we have been seeing from Walt Disney Resort as part of their decisions going into Epic Universe is a bunch of reactions, right? So we've seen like the changing of maybe the DAS system that we just discussed before, but we have seen also to water park entry for free if you actually stay on Walt Disney World property. We've seen the return of many of the on-property perks come back right there. We have seen severe discounts, free dining plans, especially for kids, all this kind of stuff. This is all reactionary. This is not necessarily offensive, or I should say, attempting to provide these services in advance of Epic Universe. This is all in the lead up to it, which I think is the distinction here.
Yeah, I just saw something pop up in the chat that I am checking on. Dave Owen Hasbrook here says, "Did you see Disney is not requiring park reservations for May 22nd this week? They know Epic Universe is coming." That's interesting because this is Memorial Day weekend, is it not?
This is Disney, a big weekend for them.
Yeah, Disney typically doesn't need to make that happen for them. They don't need to court people typically for Memorial Day weekend. It's the kickoff to the summer. People are off. It's a long weekend. Even locals are going to be out there. If they are doing good to go days for this, I mean, that's going to be insane. So I am looking right now to see.
I'm looking as well. It's kind of funny because when I typed in Disney World tickets, the first link it gave me was Universal. So I thought that was very interesting.
Universal has got their PPC on, but yeah, 22nd is a good to go day.
I'm looking right here, and it's being
for all four. For all four, it's not even just like Magic Kingdom still requires a reservation. All four parks on the 22nd are good to go days.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the reservation calendar. I think it is all good as well here. So there's no, like, let's say, artificial limitation on any of these ticket offers here that I can find.
Yes, I'm seeing the same
on the
thing.
Walt website.
Everything in May and June are all solid green. Looking ahead at July is all solid green. Yep. August too, all solid green. Typically, it means, if you have a half of a solid green, like if it's just half green, it means some parks are available. Or if it's a no sign or a slash, is you're blocked out or there's no reservations available. And that is the entire summer. There is not one single day that one single park is out of reservations, and that is not good news for them.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a tough summer for them. And, well, quite frankly, it should be. If you were in the midst of turbocharging the parks and having all kinds of stuff closed or ripped up and so forth, and you really haven't provided a compelling product for maybe a couple of years now with no new openings, no new offerings, no new entertainment options, and so forth, this late in the game these late in the game additions that you have aren't going to move the needle. And what late in the game additions are we talking about? We're talking about the Starlight Parade and stuff like that. That's not going to get people over from Epic Universe, I don't think. People might be predisposed to adding Walt Disney World on their vacations, sure, if they're coming in for Epic Universe specifically. But again, where's that revenue going to fall? Where are people going to stay? They're probably going to stay next to the resort that they actually want to go to, which in this case is Universal over Disney. So yeah, sure, they might get some people that go over to Walt Disney World as well, but I think it's going to show up in the earnings reports, and I'm most interested to see the revenue center of gravity shift, let's say, towards Universal's direction with the opening of Epic Universe.
It's just, unfortunately, the problems that Universal is having are pretty much playing right into Disney's hands at this point, because if Epic becomes kind of a logistical nightmare for people, then the balance of power shift might not be as immediate as people are thinking. It might take until Epic Universe starts really kind of finding its footing and putting out attractions that actually work all the time, for that to actually be a game changer there. But we'll see. I mean, that first couple of weeks is going to be huge for Epic, but word of mouth is the thing. And if people are like, hey, don't go to Epic Universe, nothing works, you're not going to get on anything, every ride is 6 hours long, then you might not see as many people going there this summer, which would be and that's it. I waited on some very long lines at Epic Universe, and I, didn't get on Harry Potter, and I still thought it was an incredible experience. So I hope people look beyond that, and I hope that Universal kind of gets it together, in time for this.
I do agree. Hopefully operations takes note of what actually happened in the preview period. Hopefully we can get all the attractions, or as many of them as possible, operating efficiently and with many guests being able to experience them all day. Remember, I mean, when Universal Studios Florida opened up back in 1990, right? The original park that launched Universal's foray into Central Florida. Well, that park had huge issues, right? I mean, many of the attractions broke down. That was the first time that Universal had actually invested into ride systems in general, because they were used to tram pull-throughs back in Hollywood. So that park had issues on day one, and eventually they got them sorted out. But, well, the stories are still legendary to this day. Disneyland, when it opened in July 17, 1955, that had huge problems. Obviously, like, drinking fountains didn't work because of a strike that happened. Women's heels were sinking into the concrete because they had just been they just freshly poured those streets there. And also, too, 17,000 people showed up when they only invited like 7,000. So
they were giving out animation cells because they didn't have any merchandise to sell at Disneyland.
Yes.
So
I mean, it's just legendary. These things happen.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.